Welcome everyone to another episode of TKMR Hatena. It's been a while since we've had our last episode, but we've had a pretty big incident over the past week, and we felt that it's something that we should report. Although our previous shows have been mainly based on threads that talk about rumors and trollish comments, this is actually going to be a topic of real substance, believe it or not. And the topic for today is the Suzuki ID bus pick scandal, brought to you by a fellow stalker who sat behind ID on a bus ride home from her university. In the studio today, we have a lot of people, and hopefully you can recognize them by voice. If not, just assume it's the whole crew. Everyone's fitting into one small room. Everyone say hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Say hi.
Hello. Yo, yo.
So as you can see, we have quite a packed house today. Before we get started into the discussion part of the show, I'll just give you a breakdown of what has happened over the past week that led us up to making this recording. So sometime last week, Heidi was taking the bus home from school on a regular school day, and a stalker happened to be sitting behind her and noticed that she was acting really friendly with a guy sitting next to her, presumably her classmate. So he decided to snap a couple pictures and initially uploaded them to Twitter, and it spread really quickly. At first, most of the people didn't believe it was actually ID, because the initial pictures that were uploaded was only one of from a view from behind, but that only had the back of her head, so all you could see was her hair. But then later, the original poster also uploaded a side view, which showed a more profile version of ID, and a lot of comparisons were made between her outfit from those pictures to previous blog pictures where she had worn that same outfit, and then all other stalking things that the wotas generally do. Came to a pretty quick conclusion that it was in fact her. And so for anyone who has not seen the pictures, we'll actually put them up on camera right now, so take a look. So these are the infamous pictures in question. So as you can see, it's basically just Heidi sitting there and talking to some guy who you can barely see in the picture. And apparently we should be all pissed off by this picture. After these pictures were released, there was a lot of detective work going on behind the scenes, and it was originally found that the guy next to ID on the bus belonged to someone named, online handle named Ray Clay, a Chinese university student, happens to be classmates of ID. And then for a while this went on to a lot of different back and forth threads of speculation as to what exactly their relationship was. There was a lot of comparisons between pictures that had partial shots of other random people in the background, which IOD would post to her blog, and then they would compare to personal blog pictures posted by this Ray Clay person, and they deduced that sometimes the outfits would match, so that was probably him in that situation. Presumably pictures taken at school or whatever. And then come to today, well, yesterday, around midnight in Japan time, IRD posted a blog post saying that she had been hearing a lot of stuff from her manager, and apparently this was really big, so she decided to address it by making a public blog post telling everyone that those pictures, she is aware that some pictures have surfaced. She confirmed that they were in fact her, and that the guy is nothing more than an acquaintance. And then shortly after that, Chisa also blogged something unrelated, but at the very end of her post, she wrote that she noticed Irie had blogged, and for all the cute fans to please believe her. And then I believe Mai also recently blogged about something, or?
Yeah, and Naki as well.
Okay, so apparently everyone says we should believe Irie because she's Irie, so why not? So this has led to a lot of discussion because there's been a lot of stuff going on. Now that this is kind of all up in the air, the discussion we're going to bring to you is actually pretty fresh because this topic has been kind of a week old, and I would say it was on the verge of blowing over until ID made this blog post today. And it kind of sparked a whole new level of conversation between ID fans and former ID fans who are now posting a lot of anti-ID comments online. So just to highlight some of the thoughts coming out of this thread, and then we'll give you our thoughts afterwards. A lot of people, or rather, some people in the discussion have been saying that although this whole incident is unfortunate, the person really at fault here is the person who took the pictures in the first place. The people were saying things like, on commutes to and from school, it's obvious that you would have some correspondence with classmates, and this type of interaction is normal for every student, so we really shouldn't make a big deal about this, but the fact that these pictures were taken and all that, that's just kind of unlucky for ID. Other people have started to dissect every word that ID used in her blog post, and they were saying stuff like, it's really awkward that when ID referred to the Chinese guy, the guy who's sitting next to her on the bus, as merely an acquaintance and nothing else, because in a normal situation, for a classmate, wouldn't you use the word friend instead? So they're saying like maybe she is actually hiding something or trying to downplay whatever it is, whatever relationship she actually has with that guy. And then, of course, the anti-ID people, or the people who are formerly ID fans, were saying, actually, I'm glad that I am a DD because, or I'm glad that I support multiple girls because if ID had been my only girl that I support, I would be running out the door right now and I'd be done with Q forever. But as of right now, I'm just going to switch to someone else and I can still enjoy idols. So that's kind of pretty much the overview of how the conversation has flown since the ID's blog post and now, which is currently 7 a.m. in Tokyo. Why don't we go down the line in our studio and hear comments from what we have to think. So Bex, why don't you start off?
Well, for me personally, I don't, for some reason, don't seem to mind that much that this happened. I'm just guessing that I'm getting really used to all this stuff happening, not just for Hello Project, but also for AKB, obviously. So, for me personally, it just gets less and less attention as to where this is going, or if it's true or not. I just don't seem to care that much anymore.
So, I mean, at this point, are you just like, well, even if it is true, so what?
Even if it's true, I would be happy for her.
Okay.
Okay. I think that, like, the fact that this apology even exists kind of says a lot about how retarded the fan community can be sometimes.
Wow, harsh. That's it?
Well, I could go into more if you want, but yeah.
Right, well, that's a very fair statement. We can be pretty retarded at times, and I would say this is definitely a good example if you wanted to show someone who's not familiar with this hobby how retarded we can be at times. Next up.
mean, honestly, it just people just overreacting to the situation. I mean, being an idol, and you come across, you have guys and girlfriends, and I don't know why people are always like, whenever you see an idol with a guy, they just freak out, and it just becomes a big deal within the community.
Right. They kind of automatically assume that it's a boyfriend before anything else.
Yeah, that's the first thing they'll think, and it would just start a whole commotion, like, everywhere.
What
That's
did
how-
you think the very first time you found out about this? Or did you not care?
It's whatever's. I mean, it's her personal life, really. I don't care what she really does in her, alone time, because we don't need to know that. I don't mind too much that she does talk to a guy. I mean, it's kind of natural.
Okay. I got
I just find the whole situation to be ridiculous. Because, I mean, anybody who's ever been to school, those classmates that are the opposite sex, you might befriend them, or you might, look at someone's homework assignment or discuss class topics while on the bus together. It's a bigger deal. And it also just shows to me that the entire, wota community lives in, constant fear. And they just afraid if something's going to happen, so as soon as something small happens, they make it.
Okay. Fair point. Fair?
Well, I'm not a huge Irie fan, so I never, reacted much to this. But, yeah, it was pretty much as I expected it to be, just an acquaintance. So, her blog post kind of confirmed what I already thought it was. Though on the other hand, if it had been something, and with some of my girls, so to say, probably would have reacted a bit stronger.
So, something like this does matter, but the fact that you don't care much for her in the first place kind of tones it down a little bit.
Yeah, for me at least.
Okay.
Well, let me just add to that me and Kuna here are ID fans to the max, so. And
the
we don't
max.
care.
Okay. Ouroboros.
Okay, personally, I don't think anything's going on. The person who actually took the photos in the first place really should have thought more about what they're doing, especially as I'm sure most of her classmates know that she's an idol. Therefore, knowing that something as innocuous as this, if it's just normally two university or college students, tweeting about just them sitting next to each other would be a joke. But since it can destroy her career, it's an idiotic thing for the person who took the pictures for no reason to do. And secondly, I think using the word acquaintance when she put her apology up is the right thing to do, even if he's more than an acquaintance, even if he's a friend, because they're not technically really supposed to be seen with male friends in public. So an acquaintance, I think, is a strategic word to use to try and soften the blow for the people who, as a lot of the Japanese ota do, kind of think in their minds in a way that it's like being married to them. If you saw a photograph of your wife with another man, the first thing you would think is, "Ooh, affair." And I think that's the problem that happens with the ota. They do get too attached to their idols.
So then, this whole situation then, it seems like no one in this studio actually cares, but is there any merit at all to the concerns that the otas may have over this issue? I mean, they are spending a considerable amount of money, and I guess this could be quite a scare if you've been supporting ID for, however many years. Or are they just being silly?
I think they have a reason to be afraid, And the main reason is because she's a human being, going to eventually want to interact with other human beings, opposite sex. So they have a reason to be that, and she's not going to be an idol forever. And I think that's what the biggest.
That's very true. Given that, do you guys think that ID's, I guess, apology on her blog is warranted, or is this just kind of like a PR damage control thing?
Definitely the second. It's damage control for something which is really unnecessary, but I think she's doing it out of courtesy to her fans, to be honest, more than anything else.
Yeah.
I think it kind of is necessary, just because if she didn't say anything, then people would use that against her as she's trying to hide something. But if you come out and acknowledge it and just say, oh, it was nothing, you give a logical explanation, then hopefully it'll blow over.
The problem with that, though, is that she came out and said, no, he's just an acquaintance, and that still blew up in her face anyway.
I don't know if that's...
There are doubters out there saying, oh, there's clearly more to it than just that. Or she would
there
use
are
the word
always
acquaintance.
Well, there are always going to be doubters. I mean, it's already out there. Anybody who wanted to have a reason to hate on Aerie for any reason will take this and use it. But there are always going to be doubters. But the people who were kind of questioning her, at least those will be the ones who can look at it and say, well, she acknowledged it, she explained it, it's not a big deal, and they can move on.
So on the topic of moving on, do you think this will affect ID and C-ute as a group in any way, or is this just going to blow over?
It just blow over.
That's going to blow over.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, you even mentioned already that it was almost close to blowing over already until she blogged about it.
It was close because they had no acknowledgement that a relationship
Right.
exists, but now she says for sure that they know each other. So
I think, to be honest, anybody two students on a school bus together, the chances are they know each other. But that's it. That's all there is, really.
right, that's also a very good point.
Well, I just think it kind of eliminates speculation. I mean, people are still going to speculate. People love a scandal, so some people are going to take with it and create their own stories and run with it and all that stuff. But the fact that you know, if somebody accuses you of something, if you don't say anything, then they kind of admit guilt by default or by omission instead of saying, no, that's not what's going on.
Okay. Any last thoughts on this topic?
I think the stalker posted these pictures just because he wanted to show that he sat behind Irie on the bus.
But instead, what he should have done, he should have just talked with her now that he had the chance. Why make stupid pictures? Just talk with her.
Well, so like I say, a lot of when you're in college, I mean, it's easy to forget in a way that she's an idol, because if you know her, and you could be thinking you're just making a joke amongst you and your friends, but Twitter's a worldwide thing. It's very easy to find somebody's account, and from then on, that's what's happened, because people have looked at their accounts. It's all, oh, they're now making something out of nothing by looking at blog posts and everything else and tallying stuff together. It's just ludicrous.
She can't really ignore all male classmates until she graduates.
I'm sure some wotas out there would hope for that, though.
Yeah, the main problem probably is that in the photo, his shoulders literally just going overlapping hers, so it's there. The male ota are going, he's too close to her. She should have sat next to another girl.
I guess
Pure jealousy.
I don't know if you've got the pictures up on the screen now.
I do still, yes.
Okay. Well, looking at those pictures and forgetting everything that we've since learned, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just assume that this guy's a random who sat next to her on the bus. There's nothing there to say, oh look, it's her boyfriend or anything like that. So I think it was a total overreaction from just all of the fans involved.
Well, he does look like he's talking to her, and that she's like laughing or something in the picture where you can see that their shoulders are touching.
Yeah, I guess, but I still don't think that's proof of anything. That could just be like, guy comes in, he sits next to her on the bus, and he's like, "Oh, hey."
Well, he ended up sitting next to Irie. Of course, he's gonna try to talk to her.
Yeah,
exactly
makes sense.
right.
Well, the stalker didn't. Or maybe he did. We don't know.
He sat behind her taking pictures, man. He had a whole different set of priorities. He wasn't trying to talk to a girl.
I think he's one we should be more worried about.
Yeah, we should be tracking him down and meeting him in a dark alley somewhere.
Actually, that is very true. The fact that there's some dude who knows what bus she rides, knows what school she goes to, and follows her around taking pictures is something I think is a lot more worrisome than her sitting on a bus next to it.
So the bus thing is true, but we all know what school she goes to, and so and it's one of those things when you're a public figure like that and you go to a famous school, that you're really a target for anyone to stalk you, really, because you can just like have a couple of guys watch. I think there's only 3 exits off the campus, or maybe 4, but just like have 4 people like camping the gates, and just whenever someone sees ID walk by, you just call each other.
Sounds like you put a lot of thought into this.
I'm just saying I happen to know the campus very well.
He's speaking from experience.
Yeah.
If you wanted to
so you
stalk
were the
a
one
girl,
taking the pictures. I see.
Maybe. So you were saying?
what? Oh, you go ahead.
No, I had nothing to say.
Hang on, the other person is in control of it. You've got to have things to say.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, do you think these types of things will happen again in the future? Now that someone potentially knows ID's bus line.
I think personally,
Maybe.
Irie will be a bit more careful. She might sit in the seat in front of him and turn around and talk to him, but I don't think she's likely, at least for the next few weeks at least, to actually sit next to a guy. She'll probably have some girl to chaperone her, just for safety.
Right. And last question, kind of expanding it to a very general HP question. Are you worried about any of the other girls who have openly said they're not going to university of this, like a similar incident happening? Or is it really only significant with ID because of how high profile she is compared to the other girls in Hello Project?
This could probably happen to anyone.
I know, but like, I mean, does it matter that it happens?
Well,
to
not
anyone
for me
else?
personally.
It doesn't matter to me because I don't really care if they date. It's never something that's never really bothered me. But that being said, it's almost inevitable that every idol will have some type of scandal eventually if they're an idol long enough. Like something eventually is going to happen, and so as far as scandals goes, I think Ari got off pretty light with this one.
Yeah, let's just hope this is the last one, actually.
Well, personally for me, I was quite wounded, I gotta say, by the scandal a few years ago featuring Miyabi. I assume everyone remembers that one.
The
Sure.
one with the hat and the pictures, the really dark
Yes,
pictures?
that one.
Uh-huh.
But I think for me that was the last like Hollow Project scandal I was ever really like took to heart, and I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Was there
It's
something
really affects
specific
my
about that
fandom.
one that affected you more than the rest?
I'm not really sure. I guess maybe just because I was a Berries fan, I don't know. But since then we've had like hundreds of scandals, and most of them blow over. I don't think like it's quite unusual for a scandal to become major and really make it into the mainstream news.
I would say they've all blown over except for Mikiti, who somehow turned hers into a positive thing.
Yeah.
And I would imagine she's probably the only one who can do that. If,
I think one of the reasons that most of the scandals have blown over is because they were nothing at all. And they were shown to be nothing, and because your experience actually, you experience more nothing scandals, so you expect them to be nothing.
Yeah. And I think going forward, it'll be exactly the same. More scandals, but none of them will mean anything.
So until a scandal happens, which is like, instead of just, somebody sitting next to somebody, if they're photographed sitting next to them and then kissing them or something, then it will be smack against the wall time for you and me and everybody else.
Well, you know, as long as they don't shave their heads, I'm not gonna worry too much.
Oh, that's an unexpected AKB shot coming out of you.
It's funny.
It was expected.
I'll take it.
He's still bust though.
Well, didn't the last one who had a scandal also end up winning the whole election? So
Yep.
I guess
Yeah, that's
scandals aren't
true.
really a big deal in AKB anymore.
Apparently, you can have sex and still be the #1 idol.
Yeah, why not? Everybody should be allowed to.
Right.
You just need to have sex with the right people.
Yeah, the fans.
Or the producer.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of counting.
So, on that note, why don't we end here? Hope you guys have enjoyed our conversation on this issue. If you have any thoughts about this whole thing after the blog statement has been issued, feel free to leave a comment in the section below. And thanks for listening.